What's going on, guys? It's your boy CMB, back in the building, back with another video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into this one really quickly, guys. So today, guys, we are talking about Caleb Sweet Hands Plant. You guys know the undisputed matchup between him and Canelo is on. It's going to take place November 6th. I'm thinking the MGM Grand, and I will be in attendance at that fight. Now, you guys know Canelo Alvarez, the face of boxing. He is unified at 168 pounds. He's been on a tear since late last year, scooping up 3 titles already. Of course, he scooped up the WBA super middleweight title from Callum Smith. He also picked up that vacant WBC title in that same matchup, the one that David Benavidez lost on the scale. And of course, back in May, he destroyed Billy Joe Saunders' eye and scooped up that WBO super middleweight title. I was in attendance at that fight. That was an electrifying event. I had a great time down there. And this one coming up, being an undisputed matchup, I'm sure it'll be even bigger. So that's one of the main reasons that I'm going to that fight. But anyway, guys, Caleb Plant has a message for Canelo Alvarez as well as a few other fighters. So I got the article pulled up here. Let me grab my laptop, catch you guys up to speed on what's going on. All right, guys, so the title reads, Caleb Plant says, I'll beat Canelo twice if he wants a rematch. Caleb Sweet Hands Plant says he's ready to beat Canelo Alvarez in consecutive fights if he wants a rematch after he beats him on November 6th in their undisputed 168 championship matchup in Las Vegas. IBF super middleweight champion Plant is confident that he's going to relieve Canelo of his WBA, WBC, and WBO titles in their fight on Fox Sports pay-per-view, and then it'll be up to him if he wants to fight a rematch or not. Plant says if Canelo chooses not to fight him a second time, he's going to move on and defeat former 2-time WBC super middleweight champion David Benavidez and then Jermall Charlo. We're going to find out soon. We're going to soon find out if Plant has the goods to beat the face of boxing, Canelo, on November 6th. He's a huge underdog going into this contest against the popular Mexican star. Plant says Canelo is beatable. We'd had a deal, and then he'd come back for more. We had a deal, then he'd come back for more, said Caleb Plant to the PBC podcast when asked if there was ever any doubt whether the fight with Canelo would happen. I think he found out that I'm not a fighter that he can just push around and bully. I can't control what other people say about me. I can only control what I do. He did what he had to do, said Plant on his assessment of Canelo's performance in his last fight against former WBO super middleweight champion Billy Joe Saunders last May. Until then, Billy was having a lot of success, doing a lot of things. He got caught by a shot. This can happen to anybody in boxing at any time. So I guess he's referring to, Billy Joe Saunders is one of those fighters with the slick movement. And, Canelo Alvarez has difficulties with slick fighters. But he overcame that in the fight, of course, and he got Billy Joe Saunders out of there. That doesn't mean that he's unbeatable. He's been beaten before, and honestly, he looked beatable in a lot of his biggest fights. He looked beatable against Erislandy Lara. He got schooled by Floyd Mayweather Jr., and he lost his first fight to Triple G. Okay, so the fight with Lara, I watched that fight with Lara. Lara was giving Canelo problems because of the footwork, and that's the thing with a lot of slick fighters. They give fighters like Canelo problems, but he did overcome that one as well. Of course, he lost to Floyd Mayweather Jr., and I didn't think he lost that fight to Triple G, the first fight. I know a lot of people believe that, but I thought he won that fight. Okay, let's go on, guys. It said it was really a close fight the second time, and it was really a close fight with him and Sergey Kovalev. So him and anyone else and the fans or anybody else in boxing, they're not going to be able to convince me that the guy is unbeatable and this is some kind of David and Goliath story. That's not my mentality going into this fight. We've already seen that Canelo is beatable in a half dozen of his fights during his 16-year professional career. It's pretty obvious that Canelo should have at least 6 losses on his resume against these fighters, if not generous scoring by the judges. So I guess the fighters that he put up here: Floyd Mayweather Jr., Gennady Golovkin, Miguel Cotto, Austin Trout, and Lara. Caleb says he holds advantages over Alvarez. Well, there's a list of things, said Plant when asked what separates him from Billy Joe Saunders. This isn't a knock on Billy Joe Saunders. These are things he said himself leading into the Canelo fight. I haven't always been as disciplined as I should be. I'm here now. Those were his words. You would never hear me say anything like that because I'm always doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm always on my game. Just my discipline, my boxing ability, my boxing IQ, my mentality, my mental fortitude, and everything. When you've been doing everything right for 17 years and you have so much confidence going into a fight, you almost feel like you can't be beaten. When you haven't been doing everything, you have to go up to your big moment. You're going to be thinking about those things, and they're going to have an effect on you. Okay, so he said he wasn't going to speak on his advantages going into the fight, but I like to hear this kind of talk coming from Caleb Plant going into this fight. I've said it before, Caleb Plant is a very disciplined fighter. You guys know he's a slick mover. He throws combinations. He's the bigger guy. He's kind of like Billy Joe Saunders, but he's not. You know, they got the same type of fighting style, but the discipline makes more. I think the discipline separates them. So I think this will be the toughest fight at 168 for Canelo Alvarez. Now, whether Caleb Plant can pull it off or not, we're just going to have to wait and see, because truth be told, Canelo is no slouch in the ring. He can get you out of there. Those body punches are vicious, and if you make a mistake, he's going to make you pay for it. But I do like to hear this kind of talk coming from Caleb Sweet Hands Plant. And he even talked about, if he does defeat Canelo Alvarez, fighting David Benavidez, that monster, and fighting Jermall Charlo. And the guy is the truth, in my opinion. If he's talking like that, if he's talking like he wants smoke with all 3 of these guys, I can't crap on him, because that's the thing that we want to hear in boxing. We want to hear the fighters talking about fighting the best competition in the divisions. And Caleb Sweet Hands Plant sounds like, you know, he's got a lot of confidence in himself going into this fight. If he gets past Canelo Alvarez, going into these other fights with Benavidez, which is, I think he's the most feared at 168 pounds. And even Jermall Charlo, even though he fights at 160, Jermall Charlo, I think he has talked about facing Plant in the past. So we're just going to have to wait and see on that. But guys, you tell me what you think about Caleb Sweet Hands Plant's assessment of Canelo Alvarez and his chances of beating Canelo Alvarez. You know, you never want to overlook your opponent. You know, no matter if he's a big name or not. I've said this before in the past. I've stressed this before. Even though I don't think Canelo overlooks his opponents, a lot of times fans overlook the opponent and what they bring to the table, even though they may not be as well known. You think just because they haven't fighters with big names that they don't have the ability to step up to the table, step up to the occasion, and pull it off. So you just never want to overlook that. You always want to be prepared physically, mentally, ready to go, and never overlook your opponent, guys. But tell me what you guys think about what Caleb Plant had to say in the comment section, guys. It's the CMB. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. And I'm out. Peace.